great people of the internet. Thank you and welcome to Inside the Headlines, a channel that gives you insight analysis of Kenya's most trending political issues, education, and related trending aspect of life. Today in studio, I'm joined by the two friends of mine, Mr. Fred to the far end and Mr. Moses next to me. Well, today we want to delve into education matters, and the person who is going to lead this section is none other than an expertise in education, Mr. Fred.
Thank
Take
you
it.
very much, the people of the internet. Today we want to look at the grade 9 placement into grade 10, because most of you know that currently our grade 9 will be transiting to grade 10, and they need to select their career pathways so that they can be able to be transited to the senior secondary school. So without wasting time, Mr. Moses, kindly paint a picture of the classifications of schools in the senior school. How are schools classified?
Okay, thank you for having me, Mr. Fred. So the schools are categorized into four. That is from cluster 1 up to cluster 4. So cluster 1, which is C1, is the former national schools. Then we have cluster 2 or C2, which is the former extra county schools. Then C3 are the county schools. Then lastly, we have C4, which are the sub-county schools. Yes.
Okay. Now, maybe you can also paint a picture on the career pathways that are supposed to be undertaken in senior school. What are some of the career pathways that our children and more learners are supposed to take when they transit to senior school?
Yes, so we have three career pathways. We have arts and sports. Then we have STEM. Then the last one is social science pathway.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, Mr. Bura, let me loop you in. Maybe you can tell our learners and their parents the number of selections they need to make in C1 school all the way to the last school in that category.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fred, for having us today.
Yeah.
Well, the introduction of CBE has brought a lot of changes in Kenyan education system. We all know that under 844, you could just select a school. When admitted, you had no issue of selecting subjects. But this has changed because we are now focusing more of competency of a child rather than the practical knowledge or the assessment that was being used in the prior education system. I'm not saying that CBE does not use student knowledge or assessment. It does. But the selection method has changed, and the ministry has also introduced other changes that are different to what was witnessed last year. In the first cohorts were allowed to have 11 schools in their selection, but the number of schools have been reduced to 8.
Yes.
The way my colleague has said, we have cluster 1, which are the highest level form of schools. So a learner is required to choose 3 schools in C1, then 2 schools in C2, 2 schools in C3, and 1 school in C1. And during selection, the ministry has made it mandatory that all learners must choose schools during the selection period, which starts from August 27th all the way to September 15th. So parents and teachers are required to liaise with the schools ahead to ensure that that is done. Yes.
Now, Mr. Moses, maybe if you can give our learners and parents examples of these C1 schools, C2, etc.
Yes. The good thing with the system that is working right now,
Yes.
when they are going to choose the schools are of course categorized.
Yeah.
It will show you. It's a process that it keeps on. If, like, for example, if you are choosing the C2 schools,
Yes.
so the list will be there. Of course, parents, we know the national schools in Kenya, examples of the likes of Alliance, Kenya High, Maseno School, Kisii School, and of course, most of these national schools nowadays, they are around our counties.
Yes.
Yeah, it is very difficult to get a county with no national schools.
C1
Then
schools.
the C1 schools, yes. And Abura has mentioned a very important change
Yes.
that has taken place. You know, in fact, the learners had started selecting schools.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and you find that in the process they introduce the changes that now the parents have to adapt again. So they have to choose again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they were choosing 12. Now they're choosing 8, which now the C1 is 3, then C2 2, C3 2, then C1. I mean the C4 1. Yeah, so those are good changes that are there, but there is something I want to guide the parents.
Mm-hmm.
If a learner wants to do a selection, what is the process that the learners are supposed to take? So number one, a learner must know a career that they want to take.
Yes.
I will take an example, a learner who wants to be a doctor, for example.
Mm-hmm.
So the career will be the doctor. Then what's the next step? Then they have to choose a career pathway that is in line with the career that they want to take in future. So a learner who is taking, who wants to be a doctor in future, number one will go to a pathway that is a STEM, and in the STEM there are tracks. Mm-hmm. So within that STEM there are tracks. There is pure sciences, there is applied sciences, and there is also technical sciences. Mm-hmm. So a learner who wants to be a doctor will go to the track which is pure sciences. Mm-hmm. So if in pure sciences, the learner would do subjects like chemistry, physics, and biology. Right? That is for a learner who wants to take that. Mm. So you start with the career, go to the pathway, then from the pathway go to the track, then from the track get to the subject selection. Then from there, now the learner would be able to now choose the schools.
Okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Moses. Mr. Bura, let me loop you in again. Let's assume that a learner has already selected a career pathway and has already been enrolled into a senior school, and then this learner changes his or her mind. What happens in that case?
Thank you very much, Mr. Now, before I answer the question, I just want to add something on what Mr. Moses has said. Application has process, the way my colleague has said. So when you go to the chemist portal now, it has a system that will allow the learner to key in the pathway that he or she wants to take. And the system will give you all the schools that offers that pathway from C1 to C4. So the parent, the head teacher, and the child will be in a position to select the schools. After school selection, you go to the subject combination that will enable you to get to the track, which I said. By now, for you to get the track, it will take a while because the ministry will get the list of the schools from the sub-county offices. So the schools must register with the sub-county offices, then the list be updated. But I think before the end of selection, it will be updated. But if you go to the system now, if you are a head teacher or you're a parent who have access to the KEMS portal, by now subject combination is not there. It will tell you that there is no school offering such combination, but it is something that will be updated. Now, the way we said that every learner must select a school, and the government is very clear. All learners must select public school during this selection period. Why? Because it is the responsibility of the government to place the student, because they must have that 100% transition. And when the government places a student in a given school, the government is responsible for funding the student. So during the first selection, you select all public school. But if you're a parent who wants to take his or her child to a private school, you are not left behind. The government will introduce what we call revision. So during that revision, private schools will be updated, or the list of private schools will be in the system. So if you are placed in a given school, but you want to change that school either to a private school or another school, then that will be possible during the revision phase, which will be announced later, but it will be there.
Okay, but on the same breath, yes. What if the learner chose a pathway but want to change to another pathway within the same school that she or he was placed?
It will be very difficult. Remember, during the first cohort had that leeway of changing their pathway. And the ministry realized that most of learners who took social sciences, 90% of them were placed in C1 school, which we do recognize as national schools. So when they got admission to these C1 schools, they changed from sports science to STEM. And it raised a lot of concern because a majority of students were feeling that they were disadvantaged. Why? Because we realized that most of these C1 schools are offering STEM courses. So the sports science students were very few. So, and the few were taken in this C1 school. So this time round, the ministry is very clear that the pathway that you've chosen, that is the pathway that you will take. And parents should also know that a student is only allowed to select one pathway. So you cannot choose in C1 school, you choose sports science. In C2, you choose, in C2, you choose STEM. In C3 or C4, you choose social sciences. That is not allowed. So if you choose STEM, it has to come from all the way from C1 to C4. If it is social sciences, C1, C4. So that one, if you got placed in a school, you can only change the school, but you cannot change the pathway.
Okay, I still want you to shed more light on this issue of moving from one school to the other. Let's take, for example, a learner is in grade 10 and maybe was placed to do STEM in a certain C1 school.
Yeah.
Or C2 school, or any C3 or C4 school.
Yes.
And then this learner, when he or she reaches grade 11, she wants to transfer to another school, or to a private school for that matter.
Sure.
Is that one allowed? Or in this new system, once a learner is placed in a certain school, then there will be no any other transfer whatsoever?
No. The transfer is allowed.
Yes.
Because when the government places you,
yes,
they have your details. And when you are making a transfer, the way it is being done, the principal or the head teacher will just write a transfer to the other school. They make the relevant changes through the system, and the system will capture that student A has moved from school A to school B. So parents should not worry. Yeah, they should not worry. If in future you feel like I placed my student got placed in this school and I'm not comfortable with this school, you are allowed to change the school. What is not allowed is just changing the pathway.
All right.
Yes.
Because that one was a great concern. You may find that a parent want to move from maybe Mombasa to Nairobi, and the child is in Mombasa, and maybe the parent will find it very difficult relocating to Nairobi. Thank you for that clarification, Mr. Moses.
Yes.
Can you advise our parents if they really want to help their child get the right career pathway? What are some of the tips you can give them to ensure that their children land into the right career pathway?
Yes, so number one, I will give them 4 tips. Number one, they have to ensure that when a child is doing this selection, are they interested in that course, in that pathway that they want to take? Number two, are their personalities in line with that pathway that they want to take? Then number 3 is, in fact, this one should come first, the aptitude. Is the child performance in line with what they want to take? Like, for example, I'll give an example. A child who is very weak in mathematics, for example, then you take that child, you force him to go and do STEM, the STEM pathway. That won't be possible. Yeah, in terms of personality, a child who cannot even cut even the chicken at home, if you want to then you tell such a child to go and do surgeon. Yeah, so also personality also has to come in. Then the last advice that I will tell the parents, if you have the capacity, please, if your child want to be a lawyer, for example, if you have that capacity, take that child to that lawyer. Just visit the lawyer's office, and the lawyer will also advise the learner. You ask them, what does it take for me to be a lawyer, to be like you? If a child wants to be a teacher, for example, talk to the teacher. If a child wants to be a pilot, an engineer, it is good that they have that knowledge so that they know what are they really getting into. Yes.
Yes, Mr. Bura, at the beginning of maybe previously, there were a lot of confusion about whether maths should be made compulsory in senior school or not. And the government made a deliberate decision to let only people who are doing STEM or learners who are doing STEM to continue with maths in senior school. And there was a lot of uproar from parents and from all the professional from different sectors within our country. And the government backed down and decided to introduce mathematics in senior school, where now we have core mathematics for STEM students and essential mathematics for other students. This one really affected the current grade 9 and grade 8 learners, because these two cohorts had already had in their mind that in senior school they are not going to take mathematics. So I think that one affected them in terms of how they perceive mathematics. But now that the government has reverted back that mathematics is going to be compulsory in senior school, our learners in grade 9 and grade 8 are really struggling to catch up with the new norm. So as an educationist, what can you advise our parents and learners who are in grade 5, 6, 7, 8, and even 9 right now? What kind of intervention can they take to ensure that their children are not left behind, or they change their way, their attitude towards this? Because this is now a new U-turn from the government.
Yeah, it's a very integral question, and our learners needs to understand that policy making involves policy stakeholders, and parents are key stakeholders in educational policy.
Yes.
So their ideas cannot be looked down onto. It was a great concern, especially from parents, and the government through the ministry checked onto it and introduced the basic maths and all the foundations. So those who are not taking STEM are required to do the foundations. I think it's somehow lighter maths, you can say,
Yes, yeah.
compared to higher maths.
Yeah, it's the same topics, of course,
Yeah.
but it's a little bit lighter.
It's a little
Yes.
bit lighter. So our learners should just cope up, because it's not technical, as some may say. It's something that they can do. They just have to be prepared psychologically, because the difficult maths are for the STEM student or STEM learners. So if you are not planning to take STEM, but we need to have the basic knowledge of maths.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the government considered, that everything revolves around maths. So to our grade 7, grade 8, grade 9 learners, if you are not planning to take STEM, just have that basic knowledge of mathematics. That's what you'll be learning in grade 10 all the way to grade 12. It is not that difficult, although the syllabus is still, they're still coming up with the syllabus, but grade 10 syllabus, we've checked the maths, it's not that technical. You can do it, and we believe you will do it.
Thank you, Mr. Bura Moses. Your last word?
Yes. Okay. My last word to the parents. You know, there is this illusion that started when CBC came in, that now we are now off from books and we are now to the other things. That what I want to tell the parents, that is just an illusion. You know, a summative. We used to do summative assessment, but now it is a continuous assessment. And by the way, Mr. Fred, our parents should know that even the KIPSEA that the learners are going to do at grade 6 level, that exam will count when they get to grade 9. In fact, the government said, is it 20%?
Yes.
Yes, it will count for 20%. You know, we used to, sometimes you could perform poorly, then at the end, maybe you shoot up. Yeah. So as those people are benefiting, it will also be unfortunate if you have not been performing well. So it is something that you should keep up the aptitude test. The performance should be top. Always, so that when it is cumulative, you are still at a better chance.
Yeah.
So let us encourage our children to go back to book. They should read, they should revise, they should do a lot of research.
Yeah.
Yes, that is what I can advise our parents.
So essentially, everything that a learner does in junior school will cumulatively account to
the senior school as well.
Senior school as well.
Yes.
Mr. Bura, your last word.
Yeah, dear parents, dear students, we need to know that CBE is all about the competency of a learner, and selecting schools depends primarily on the ability of the learner. As parents, we need first to consider the decision, the ambition, and the aptitude of a learner. So let's not force our learners to do what we thought we could have been.
Sure.
Yeah, our time is gone. Let them be whatever they want to be. That will help them in the near future.
Thank you very much, our viewers. We want to thank you once more, and keep on subscribing to our new channel. We don't take your support for granted.